Hi folks, and welcome back to my channel, or welcome to the channel. And you might have seen previous videos on how we have recovered this 135R Lotus Elise from the scrapyard, as it was a total loss. We've rebuilt the complete bag, and now it's time to do the front part. All what's left is to fix the front clamshell. So this is the old front clamshell of the Elise. Totally destroyed, but I didn't throw it away because there's always parts on it that you might need on your new one. Now, I couldn't repair this one anymore, even if I had all the parts. I think it's way too far gone. So I got lucky. I found a second-hand one, but it's a bit in a bad condition and we'll have to fix it. So the options that you have is you either go for a brand new one, but they're quite expensive. They run you up in the mid 2000s of euros or pounds. You can go for an aftermarket one, but those are typically not all that good, although there are a couple of very good ones around. But fitting is not all that easy. Now, even if you go for an original one, you may run into some issues because the latest ones that I've been told are having problems fitting underneath the window screen or the front screen. They're a bit thicker. I don't know why that is, but it seems like they have changed the mold a bit, and that is a bit of an issue, so you have to do adjustments. So I went for an original one, but as I said, pretty badly damaged. I don't know if I'm going to get it properly fixed or not, but let's give it a try. So this clamshell was repaired before, and as you can see, they have a lot of patches around, and it really looks a bit, I would say, shitty. It doesn't look good. It's been done very badly. There are parts missing over here to hold the lights. I will have to recover that from my old clamshell, and luckily I still have that part. So we're going to sand down all these areas, make it flat again, then strengthen it again with polyester, and then finally I will bond an aluminum plate on it, but I'll talk about this in a few seconds. So let's have a close-up on some of those areas. I'm sorry guys, I'm doing this outside and it's been raining a bit, but that's okay, then I have less dust. Anyhow, this is an area where they actually put a patch up. And you can see this is a polyester patch, but polyester gets its strength by layering and layering. So the more layers you get, the more random the fibers are, the stronger it becomes. Now they did a very small patch and just one, it looks really bad. And then they grind it down on the edges, but they didn't overlap it afterwards. So you take stuff off the surface, you make it thinner, but then you don't cover it up. That doesn't make sense. So all that has to be redone because this is very badly done. The other side, I don't know yet how that will look like, but that we do later. But first of all, we do the inside. So I'm not going to do anything different. First of all, I will apply polyester layers and layers to make it strong again. And then I'm going to use the bonding stuff to bond the piece of aluminum on top of the shell, and that will make it very strong. Nothing different than what Lotus does, by the way. You see that bracket over here, which bolts down to the front of the vehicle? Here you see kind of some gummy stuff. This is bonding kit, polyurethane glue. That's a metal part. That's how Lotus glues that on there. And then finally, we'll flip it over and then we'll fix the other side. The only thing I need to watch out for are micro cracks, because they will be all over the place, especially if this was involved in a crash, as it looks like. So that's going to be a little bit of careful inspection, because you don't want to have these micro cracks to pop out once everything is painted and prepared. So let's start. But not only does it have cracks, it also has a couple of holes in the front and on this side, typical areas where the front clamshell is hitting the ground, quite common on the Lotus Elise, so these parts will have to be fixed. If you're going to do this work, then you should place the shell on a jig, and I made a wooden jig supporting the shell in all the different areas, and I even bolted it down so it can't move. Otherwise, you won't have a proper fix. So you don't want it to have bent in any direction. You want to have it as it should be on the car. So that's a little bit of fiddling, guys, with pieces of wood and clamps, but that just works fine. So the way we're going to fix the inside is first of all to sand down all the old patches of polyester so that it's smooth again. That's the first thing. Then I'm going to fill up potential holes or deep cracks or uneven areas with multiple layers of polyester. And when that's done, I'm going to sand it again, and I'm using an air tool, an air sander. Very handy. And then when that's done, I'm going to use an aluminum plate of 2 millimeters, and I will cut it to the right size, and it will actually bond it onto that area, covering the fixed polyester area. And I'm going to do that bonding with Carbond. I've used that before to mount crash boxes. This works really well. And this is a polyterrain glue that works perfectly. It's the same effect as what Lotus is doing with all the attachments, or metal attachments that they have on the front clamshell. Now I'll show you a few of those details. If you don't believe me, you can see it. Now that's going to make it extremely strong. Bonding pieces of metal, even steel, onto a clamshell is quite common. That's what Lotus does, and that's why they use this polyterrain bonding compound. I might, and I'm not sure yet, but that's something I need to decide, I might even place a complete aluminum panel bent into place in the front here, maybe all along the front part. I am not sure, just to strengthen that up. But that I don't know yet. I need to figure that out, if that's going to be worthwhile doing it or not. It might not be. Okay, so with any further ado, let's get on with it, because it starts to rain a bit more, but it doesn't really matter because we're going to make a lot of dust. So if you work on polyester, always wear a dust mask, because that's nasty stuff, and use your goggles. So I'm going to start by grinding down this area, and I'm using an air tool for that with a abrasive paper of grain 60. And to create the piece of aluminum, we just use a piece of paper, and we're going to trace around it and cut it, right? And then we'll see where it brings us. There we go. So I have the curve. And it's really starting to rain, guys. But it feels nice to have some rain after all the drought we have. We haven't had rain in weeks. All right, so I need to cut it. That's it. There we go. I still need to clean that up a bit here. Let's see if we cut this. The good thing about the rain is you don't get a lot of dust. All right, so this will be the piece of aluminum that we will create, like so, to strengthen that whole area. And now it's just a matter of transposing it to the aluminum panel. So guys, this is the piece we've cut, and now we can actually fit it on there. I already bended it a little bit so it fits nicely. And now all what we need to do is to apply primer on this surface, but I have to peel off, of course, the protective layer, and I will roughen up a little bit the aluminum. I'm going to roughen it up a little bit. Alright, so we've cleaned this up. This is now smooth and there are no real deep cracks in it anymore. Of course, I don't have multiple layers, but at least the gaps and the holes are all filled up. That's a good thing. Now I'm going to put this aluminum plate that we've cut before. We're going to put it on there. I already banded it a little bit in place. So now we can bond that aluminum plate onto the shell, and that will make it extremely strong. You might not believe me, but try it out yourself if you don't, and you'll see how good that goes. Now, before I do that, I'll have to apply primer on this surface, and I have to apply primer on the back of the aluminum plate. But before I do that, I'm going to roughen up this plate a little bit. So we're going to degrease it, because that's important. And you also will have to degrease the surface on the clamshell. So we're going to degrease also the surface on the clamshell the same way, and then we apply the primer, because you have to apply the primer to both sides. I know there are all kind of polyurethane glues on the market, but I'm always using Sudal, and this is the primer, and you have to apply it, but you have to shake it very well before you actually use it. Otherwise, it's not mixed well and it's not going to work too well. You have a special piece of kit, I don't know what that is, looks like a little sponge to apply it, and that makes it a lot easier. So let's do that. You want to cover the whole area. And now it's time to apply the beads. And now we'll press in the panel. And you need to squeeze and press a bit, because you want to have these beads going open at the inside. And then we just clean up the edges. And that's the end result, a nice aluminum patch, very solid, and it will really, really enforce this damaged clamshell. So this is a combination of polyester and aluminum bonded together with carbond. So this is the inner part that holds the light, and then normally it should go on all the way like that. But as you can see, that's broken off, it's gone, and they didn't even bother to place it back. So I was wondering how they were holding in that light inside. Nevertheless, I'm lucky I've got this part on my old clamshell still intact, so I got a bit lucky. But let me show you how it should look like. And this is how it should look like. Okay, so this is the old original light casing, and I'm going to reuse it, and we glue it into the second-hand clamshell. So guys, as you could see, that worked out just fine. So now we're going to remove this old light fixture here. I have to be careful not to damage the clamshell, so I'm going to cut the old light fixture into pieces first, just the reverse as what I've done when I removed the other one. That's where I cut the clamshell. But here I'm going to cut first of all that piece into pieces so I can see what I'm doing. So let's see, I'm going to cut some more off, so we have a good vision on where we are with this. So let's see if we can get it off a bit. Oh, that went off quite easy. I think somebody worked on it before and they didn't do really a good job in putting it back on. Because normally that should stick a lot better than that. I even placed a piece of mat here which is not even glued on. Terrible. It's amazing what a mess people can make instead of doing a good job. And this is the part that we recovered, so let's see if that is fitable or not. I think we can fit it, but we'll have to clean up some areas. Over here there's a big bump. Doesn't fit there, so we need to fix that. And there's bumps there and there, so we need to sand down a whole bunch of stuff. Alright, I'm gonna put my mask up because right now I have to sand down into polyester and that is not that good. I cleaned up this whole area so that the light fixture can fit properly, but I've noticed that some areas are pretty thin, so I'm going to reinforce it first of all with some polyester mat. This is not good enough to put straight on the aluminum panel. We'll place the panel right here, but first of all I'm going to put a big mat in that whole white area just to make it stronger. Now I'm using pretty heavy polyester mats. This is 450 grams. Alright folks, it's a couple of hours later now. I've cleaned up this whole area and you've seen me adding an extra layer of polyester. I already cleaned up the holes and the openings, and I already started to make some additional brackets in aluminum, just like on the other side as you've seen before. I also made one here right in the middle. This is an aluminum bracket that will go in here that will reinforce it. I already have polyester in the bottom. We already put the primer up. That's the black stuff. So now we just need to use carbon and then actually glue it in place. So that one, you see that shape? So that goes in there, that will really make it stronger. And then I have a smaller bracket that I built over here because I had a serious crack here. And then finally, I will be able to glue in the light holder or the light enclosure like so. And we do that with carbon as well. So these are the things I'm going to do right now to finish all that up, and then I'll show you when I'm done. All right, so That's the last piece we need to do, and we're gonna glue that in as well, just like all the rest. So folks, we reached the end of this video, and we fixed this clamshell at the inside. We made it a lot stronger by applying new layers of polyester where it was necessary. We also bonded aluminum panels onto the back of it. That makes it really, really strong. Or we did it in the middle, we did it on the edges where the cracks were, so now we have a nice overlap, and that makes it really, really strong. We also have, in the middle, we created a tunnel in aluminum that will really make it strong as well. So you don't have to believe me if this is working or not, but believe me, it is working very well, and it is very strong. Try it out and you will find out how strong that is. And if you don't believe it, try it on a piece of test material and you'll see how strong that is. I've done it before, and you can even watch that video. So in the next video, we're going to fix the clamshell on the outside and get it ready for painting. There's a few little other things I have to do on this one, but I think this clamshell will become all right. Now, tomorrow I'm going to start working on Old Rusty, because I can't let my subscribers down that like to see work on Old Rusty. But this was the last thing I had to do today. So I'm going to get my dinner, get a shower, and go to bed, so we can start tomorrow fresh. Bye bye, and have a great day.